Hey there YouTube, I am Wheelchair21 and on today's rolling review we'll be looking at the Shinkocchou Seiho Figuarts Kamen Rider Decade, which is the collector's line version of Decade, which pretty much is a line just majorly for the actual 10 Heisei Riders, as well as some of their secondary forms, final forms, and villains or secondary rider, because the line is kind of expanding past our main 10. Anyways, the box art looks similar to, well, Kuga, Kabuto, Hibiki, and Agito thus far. And honestly, it's one cool, version of a collector's box. I like that it's simple. I like that it's compact. I know a lot of fans prefer the open window display, but this makes it actually feel like a special limited edition type packaging. And let's get inside to show you what it actually comes with. Underneath our figure, well, let's go through everything it comes with. Obviously, one of the cards just fell out because, unlike the original release of Decade, where it was cardboard and you had to use an X-Acto knife to remove the cards, this is a thin piece of laminated plastic where you actually just pop each of your cards out. The one that fell out at this moment is Blade, and you have all 10 of your actual Heisei Riders and 5 of his attack cards with the Final Form Ride at the very end. Honestly, very good, nicely detailed, and a whole lot better than those crappy cardboard ones, I should say, none the least. His pair of hands, are able to hold the actual cards, hold the sword, hold the gun, open hand. And as you can see, Ride Booker, basic mode, gun mode, sword mode, as well as spare actual belt buckle for the actual Deca driver, where you can actually have him insert cards into the Deca driver once it's removed, switched, and swapped, and Violent Emotion head, meaning this is the penultimate Decade. Obviously, the original Violent Emotion figure was a plus, but this one has just gone above and beyond. Upon removing Decade from his box, you can see that it's a marvelous figure. It's overall the best representation of Decade we've had in the Figuarts line, after going through, well, technically 2 previous issues of the figure. Its original back in 2009, its Violent Emotion, released practically in 2010, and the Seiho of it. The Seiho is, like I said, the best representation because it actually is more accurate to the suit. It's digitally scanned and goes through that whole rigorous process of trying to make almost an RH quality in the Figuarts line. Now, I've always been a fan of the design itself, and think it just is marvelous overall. Now, one big issue I have with the actual points of articulation with this figure are the thighs are very tight, and I can't seem to actually turn them. I don't know if that's just a problem with my figure or all the figures in general. As well as the right foot is a bit loose, but also kind of springy, so it kind of goes back in place when you try to move it, and it tends to be a problem. The new shoulders, pretty much similar to previous other releases throughout the past couple of years, trying to give more sway, more valid motion to a human when they're in this suit and moving around, and tries to actually capture how the pads worked in the show, actually attached to the shoulder rather than the actual torso itself. And to go further into the details of his head, really well designed, goes with the whole barcode aspect of the scanning of the cards and features, and honestly, really like it. Always liked Decade's design, swell, marvelous, and beautiful. Now, comparing it to his Violent Emotion head, it looks pretty damn awesome. Violent Emotion has always been one of my preferred designs for Decade, mostly around how his eyes are sculpted. I like this more butterfly-like wing eye, where it also has like a little bit more tint and curvaceous, jagged parts towards the center, which are very hard to see in general, whether it be on the suit or on the actual figure. I don't really like this change of the weird purple magenta pipe light piece here. I just don't like it. It kind of just fades into the suit itself rather than the nice little yellow piece, but it's to go with his whole evil emo phase that he had in the actual movie. Another cool thing is that the actual belt can be removed and swapped to make it look like he's activating a card in the Deca driver, or henching or de-henching into Tsukasa. My only problem is The way it's constructed is it's kind of built on an L-shaped system where it locks in snugly into the actual band itself. So the Deca driver case itself, can snap and break off these ports. Now, will they break in the actual waist and belt band itself? Possibly. Will it break upon removal? Yes, maybe. So I don't really recommend swapping it out vigorously. As well as the Deca driver. The Deca driver has been sculpted to try to feature every logo of the past 10 riders on the belt quite nicely, as well as the word Decade on the top of the driver. However, the belt itself kind of gets stuck, so it's harder to swap between the two variants. However, the slot on the belt still is there, so you can actually put a card in. The only thing is that it's very tedious to remove the little plastic cards, so you will need probably like the fine-tipped tweezers that are used in model details like stickering and removing masking tape when you're trying to add, like, say, pinstripes. And for the weapons, the Ride Booker in its small book form has one flaw. Even though it can open, you can't actually put the cards inside. But I think every other previous version that had that couldn't do it either. Now, I just dropped the sword, but I caught it. Alright, the sword, pretty good. The only change they did was actually try to put an indent into the actual blade, so the black actually is more inside the silver and really decently done. The actual Decade logo on either version of the Ride Booker is a nice faded, like, neon pink, and it really stands out. I really enjoy it. Every version, though, also includes the green little detail that the actual Ride Booker itself had on the front end of it. I don't think some of the previous releases had it. Then again, I haven't even looked at mine since I put them away for storage, due to the fact that I'm still trying to reassemble my bedroom. Nevertheless, I gotta say, for the weapons, they've done well. For the ability to switch and feature actual cards in your Deca driver is a good on-screen representation. So I guess with that, we should move on to evaluation time. The Seiho Kamen Rider Decade is everything the fans have been wanting, especially if you've been displeased by the original Decade or Violent Emotion. Now, this one is a vast improvement, seeing that it is a Seiho. It is more accurate to the actual on-screen representation of the suit. This is a digitally scanned suit, figure, whatever. This is meant for the collectors. So you're either going to want to keep it in box or keep it out on open display. It doesn't matter your preference. One thing about it is, though, if you do choose to open it, it does come with everything Violent Emotion had, whether it be all three versions of the Ride Booker as well as the Violent Emotion head. And the best part about it is, at least the Kamen Ride cards now are not little cardboard pieces that you have to cut out via an Exo knife. They're actually nice laminated plastic parts, which come in a nice little cardboard kind of holding cell with a light piece of tape that keeps them nice in place, as you can see it here on display. The actual figure that I have does have some QC issues, whether it be tight thighs or loose feet. Those are about the only things I hate about my figure. The one improvement I do love is the actual hip joint. It looks more and feels more like an actual hip and pelvis. It looks more humane, and how an actual thing would move in a tight, like, leathery rubber suit, depending on what type of materials said suit is made out of. As well as, the only issues I do have are the Deca driver itself, due to the fact I think it can break depending on how you try to remove it to get your cards in or have it on display. Nevertheless, this is a purchase that I insist people go out there and get if they love Kamen Rider Decade, and if they're thinking about actually selling the previous versions just to get it, it is a worthy cause. So, if you like this video, as well as any other videos that I have, I insist you subscribe to my channel, as well as like this video, comment, and so on and so forth. You can find this video here, like I said, on my channel, or possibly over at herotaku.com, and you can follow me on Twitter and on Instagram, because that's all I got for social media. Anyways, I am Wheelchair21, and I will see you next time with another rolling review, Doyle's DVDs, card game shenanigans, vlogs / unboxings, or my brand new series, the Let's Build.